It's looking pretty good, but to be honest with you, I didn't expect this. I don't think anyone expected it. But when you watched how Jayden Daniels was and how the veteran guys on the defensive side and Frankie Louvu and Bobby Wagner, how they came into this thing and how things was coming together, you knew that the guys were pulling for each other and they had brought in to what Dan Quinn was preaching. But you don't expect things like this to happen. And I think a lot of this happened because of the hard work that the guys are putting in off the field. You know what I mean? Not necessarily just out there practicing, but understanding what they have to do. And if they keep doing this, don't tell them what can happen.
Yeah, like you said, I don't think anyone expected, especially with the rookie quarterback, as great as people thought Jayden would eventually be. But first year, 4-1. If you're sort of like rejiggering your expectations, Brian, what do you expect now? I mean, is it making the playoffs? Is it more than that? What can you expect this year now?
You know what? As a former player, I kind of take a game at a time.
Yeah.
I've learned you don't get too far ahead. Like I'm a golfer, and every time I golf and I start thinking about what I can do, I end up doing opposite of that. So I try my best to just look at it a week at a time. And I think if they just keep handling business, because they won 4 games last year, they won 4 already. Yeah. I've seen this team at 6-2 end up 8-8. But it's a different team now. It's a different era. And I understand that the coaches, they preach, take care of what you can take care of. Don't worry about tomorrow. Worry about right now. Those guys seem to be doing that. And Jayden, when you get a young guy come in with the maturity that he has, people want to be a part of that. They want to pull for a guy like that. And if he keeps leading like this, he can get this town, this state, this area, everybody around to just feed. He can feed him from his hands. He can do whatever he wants to do because he is that serious about football. And I haven't seen many young guys as serious as he is about football.
How good has he? I mean, we've seen him on the field, Brian. I mean, how good has he been? You call him a leader. I mean, is he a leader on this football team already, as young as he is?
Yes, he is. The one thing about it, when you're a young guy and you come in, they didn't want to make him the starter early because they said, we don't want to thrust that type of responsibility upon him. But his comments was like, if I become the starter, I'm not going to stop working. I'm going to keep being the same guy. And I think guys respect that. Then they watch how he moves. He's not a guy that's stuck on himself. He believes in team. He's very, very down to earth. And I think he puts the work in. So you find out if you're a leader, you're a leader. I got here in Washington in 1990. I didn't wait until I became a 10-year guy to become a leader. That's who I was. My dad raised me that way. That's the way I was. And eventually who you are has to come out. And I think that's a great thing that he is a leader. He is a worker. And the guy is good. I can tell you that.
How good do you think he can be, Brian? And I guess this week, not a bad quarterback matchup. You could Jayden Daniels and Lamar Jackson. I mean, it's pretty darn good, right?
Yeah, he can be as good as he wants to be. But I think the ultimate thing is, you look at this offensive line, nobody expected them to play as well as they've been playing.
Yeah.
And you got guys, Biotic and Alec Grady, Cosme is a Pro Bowler. You got Wally on the other side. And then we've been having a sharing thing going on with Cornelius Lucas and the rookie Brandon Coleman, who's been way better than I thought he would be. But I would just say, if he keeps his head like he's always been, which I expect him to do, I think the kid was raised properly. And I believe if the team keeps building people around him, which I think Adam Peters is that guy to put the right people around him, the sky's the limit. And, I'm not one to go out and I talk to Andy Reid a lot. He said, Pat Mahomes, he said, B. Mitch, he's a good one. I say, how good can he be, coach? He say, we're going to figure that out. I want to see if he can stay focused. He stayed focused. If Jayden stays focused, great things can happen for him.
You've been around this organization for a really long time, obviously with the proximity to Baltimore and the Ravens. How big of a game is this? No, it's not like it's a division game. You're not playing the Cowboys or the Giants, or the Eagles, but how big of a game is this for the area, Brian, this upcoming week?
I think it's huge for the area because everybody in this area basically are, Commanders fans or Ravens fans. And when you have 2 quarterbacks of this caliber, you're going to get a lot of outside attention. People around the country, have a lot of outside media coming in. That's going to make the game bigger. Listen, I don't see this as a rivalry game per se. They don't play enough in meaningful games to make it that much of a rivalry. But it's a game where the towns, the fans that live in D.C. and in Baltimore, they want to have bragging rights. They want to have an upper hand. But for me, I think it's a big game because, they played against some teams that had a good defense or a good offense. The Ravens team has both good offense and good defense. And hell, Justin Tucker is as good as anybody out there
Yeah.
when he's kicking the ball. And I know we had a talk with coaches today. He said, no, it's not like one of those games where you measure. But I think around the country, people are going to look at this team to see how they perform against a Ravens team. John Harbaugh was my coach in Philadelphia. That man can coach his ass off. Unbelievable. And I think when you look at it, you want to see how they perform. And also they got to remember this. Don't think just because you may lose a game, if you lose a game, it's not the end of the season. Detroit lost last year. Where did they end up?
Yeah. Hey, that's a hell of a good point. We talked about you being around this team since literally 1990. There was a bunch of different things. You got a new quarterback, you got a new coach, you've also got a new owner.
Yeah.
What kind of difference has Magic Johnson and that team, the new ownership group coming in, and maybe more importantly, even Daniel Snyder moving on? Has that made a big difference?
It has. It's been a breath of fresh air, and I think that's the biggest thing in it, where you have all of these different people, all like owner, coach, GM, starting quarterback, other people on offense and defense, all these coaches that have come in. When you get that many moving parts, it's kind of hard to get that cohesion that quick. It happens because I think the ultimate thing, I forgot the young lady's name. She works for the team. She was like, this is a family. Everybody cares about everybody. Everybody's working for the same common cause. When you get that, I don't care what profession you're in, if everybody's working for the same goal and cares about each other, you have a level of success. If they don't, and you got the individual who care about them and the other person care about themselves, you don't get that. But right now, I think this team, from all of the players that I play with and all, people are all happy and feel like they're a part of this thing. Magic and also, Josh and Mitch and also, Mark Iron, these guys have come in and say, we want y'all to be a part of this. Come back in, hang out. It makes you feel wanted. And anytime you feel wanted, you want to go out there and produce some things. And I'm pulling for this team as hard as I can possibly pull.
Give me your thoughts on the new kickoff rules. What do you think as a football fan and as a guy who made a career out of, again, being...
I would love to be playing right now. To be honest, listen, I think it gives an advantage to the return team. You've seen DJ Dallas return a touchdown.
Yep.
Austin Eckler return a touchdown. They called it back. Then he had another 62-yarder. When you look at it right now, it looks very similar to an offensive-defensive play.
Yeah.
A big crowd, and you watch the running backs. They run, plant, and they go. You watch the guys that play defensive back or maybe a receiver. They get close, and they start to pitter-patter their feet. Right. You slow down, you give people a chance. But the running backs are hitting it just like a running play. And the way it is now with everybody in one wave, you get through one wave, you can go the distance.
Right.
And back in the day, you had those multiple waves. Now it's just one. I love the fact that they tried to put it back into the game because it was gone, where they just kick the ball into the end zone, come up to it. I didn't like that. So right now, if coaches are smart enough, and I think on this weekend, everybody's talking about Lamar and they're talking about Jayden. John Harbaugh used to be a special teams guru.
Right.
He's in Baltimore. Larry Izzo is a special teams guru here. He's in Washington. Look for something in that phase of the game that may help decide this game as well.
It's one of the most exciting plays in the entire sport. And yeah, I mean, I can't think of a better word. It sucked without it the last couple of years. And I hadn't even thought about that too, Brian. That's a good point. So whereas you might have gotten these lanes or these creases before, now it's more like a play from scrimmage. Do you think teams go more towards running backs and maybe not necessarily finding the fastest guy in the team who might be a cornerback or something? Is it more running backs now that are put back there?
I think they'll be most effective. Ever since I saw it, I thought that, and then all year, during camp, they were doing little things, and then first game, boom, Austin Eckler is your return. I was like, oh, okay, then I like this. But what I say about it, though, Stephen, is that the teams that have always taken special teams serious are going to be successful with it. Yeah. Those teams that think they could just win with just offense and defense, they won't be, and they'll probably suffer because of it later on in the season.